Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Love After. I am with Sarah Ann from the most recent series of Love is Blind on Netflix. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. I'm laughing, you guys. We were just like chatting before this and we already like got way too far into talking and just like I was like, I feel like we're already like friends. And
Wait.
I was like, wait, we're here for a podcast. We need to record an episode.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna roll.
I love it.
I love starting out these interviews because I think like people that end up on reality TV, it can be so different like how you end up there. Like I just had an interview with Amy and Johnny
Yeah.
said he was found from LinkedIn. Did you apply for the show or were you like found somewhere random for it?
I was found on Instagram and I remember I did think it was a scam because I feel like Instagram, you get like random people that are like, oh, send me this code or whatever. And immediately I was like, oh, this is lame. Like, cause I had actually applied to either do like I was in the pursuit of love. Like I really wanted to meet someone and I was like, you know what? Why would I not try a reality show? And I want to say like 3 or 4 months prior to actually like signing up for Love is Blind, I was like, maybe I'll go and be on The Bachelor or something. And so I put in an application to do that because I was super single. And and then I got reached out to on Instagram and I was like, this is fake. They obviously somebody somewhere got into the archives of reality TV. They saw I was trying to apply for a different, show. And I was like, yeah, no, none of this. And then like I got another message and I was like, okay, do I look that single? Is this real? Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I'll agree to meet. I mean, they asked to do a like an actual video audition almost. And what I mean by that is they're just like asking me questions about my life, like how long I've been single, what I'm looking for. So yeah, Instagram is where I was found out. But I look back and my Instagram was giving single as a Pringle. So
Yeah, that is so funny. And it's hilarious you said that. And if you like to our listeners that hear this episode, they're gonna laugh because most people that come on and say they like got a DM or whatever
mhm.
or a message somewhere, they all think it's spam at first. So I'm like,
It's
everyone check
strange.
your spam box. Like you might be the next contestant on one of these shows.
Yes. I mean, it's so weird, right? Because you're like, there's no way that I'm being reached out to right now by this huge reality show. And yeah, I mean, and anybody I feel like that's, active on social media gets some sort of scam sent their direction. I mean, heck, we get them to
Well,
our
right. Yeah.
iPhone. So it's,
So what was it like when you found out you were gonna be on the show? Like when they told you were going? Like were your family and friends like all excited? Like who did you tell?
oh gosh. So actually we were in contract to not talk to anyone about it, which was probably the hardest thing. And that was just part of the confidentiality agreement. Um, actually, I didn't
But how
even
do you
find.
say like I'm going missing for a month?
Right. Well, that was my whole thing. I was talking to some of the like producers at that point. Like I think I applied when they reached out somewhere around November of 2023. And then I found out I was actually accepted like 2 weeks before flying to LA. So I want to say like early March is when I found out. But the only person that I truly like let in on my secret was my mom because I know that she wouldn't go out and try to like slander me on the
Right.
internet or tell my secret, but I wanted her to know so that she knew I wasn't like going to be dead in a ditch somewhere for 3 weeks with no phone because that's the other thing, they take your phone when you're filming. But what did I feel like when I was told I was going to be on the show? First I was excited because I was like, well, hell, this is
Yeah.
a once in a lifetime experiment that I'm going to be a part of. But um I was also anxious just because what is it going to be like? Like I've never done anything in media. I have zero media training. And
Mhm.
I think in one of there was like a 225 questionnaire that I had to fill out. And I think that I put my biggest fear was breaking down on television or being rejected on TV and crying.
Aw.
Um, and it happened. It's almost like I
You manifested it.
was like,
You're like,
wow.
"Did I do that to myself?"
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I was excited, but I also I feel like a lot of people have admitted this, and I'll admit this too. Like, I really thought, like, dang, this would be great if I could meet someone here, but the reality is, like, it's probably not gonna happen. But
I thought the same thing.
yeah, like, I mean, but
I
why
was like, it's
wouldn't
an
I get
adventure. I was like, it's an adventure, and then it's a bonus if it happens. And then of course, like
yeah,
I was like you, like I found someone and was like, I can't believe this is happening. Like
yeah,
this is so
yeah.
surreal.
It is. It's so surreal. And honestly, I look back and you know, there's been times through the hate and things like that where I'm like, would I do this again? Would I have ever done it in the first place? And the answer is always yes. I always find myself trying to like pull the positives out of it, you know, like the relationship and just some of the people that I've met. And I know, and people say, well, you don't hang out with any of the cast and none of them like you, but like I still stand by this, that during the pod times, like I was close to some of the women and I think they're all phenomenal. I also just met some really cool people in Hollywood. It was just like, you know, like, and
Right.
I'm here right now talking to you, which is incredible. So, it's given me some
It all
space.
Yeah, it all works out. I think like what's so crazy for me. So wait, how quickly did you and Jeremy kick it off in the pods? And were there like other people in the mix? Because so this was
Yeah.
like my first time watching the show. So the
Mm-hmm.
beginning like went by so fast for me, and I'm trying to like figure out how it's working, one, and then where
Yeah.
all the people are going, and you know, like okay, so then people are narrowing it
Yeah.
down. Like how quickly did you know that you liked him?
Not quickly. I know everybody wants that fairy tale answer, but that's not the truth. The truth of the matter is the way that it works. Let me break it down by how it works. So when you get to Los Angeles, you get to where the filming is being done, where the pods are. You are actually going to date every single person. So you go in and you have exactly like 7 to 10 minutes in a date with every single person, and then you get a list and you narrow it down by like just that first conversation, that initial conversation, like, do I like this person? Do we have common interest? And we weren't told this, but you basically rank them. And then at the end of the night, like your two lowest get removed. Like you will never date them again.
That's
So, and
so funny.
yeah.
And then it
It's
just
so
keeps
stressful.
narrowing it down.
Yeah. But that's so stressful because you're going, okay, but they told me their favorite color. And I don't know if we're
You're like, but I
compatible.
have the same favorite color. Like maybe I keep them.
Yeah. You never know. I think that the whole point of it is to be that really like pressure cooker, jump to the point, figure out those big topics. And if you're going to be compatible with someone, I think that's the way that they do it, and it's for a reason. But I dated Jeremy. He was up there in my top 5. I will say that for the duration of
Yeah.
the pod days. But I mean, I had connections all the way up until that very last like 4 or 5 days, and
Yeah.
then they started making more people drop off of our list. And then actually for me, it was Jeremy was my top choice. I had Drake on there and I had Vince on there, and I don't think I've told anybody that yet, but those are my 3 connections.
Oh.
Yeah,
Yeah. And like I don't think I knew that either, or like could tell
yeah,
from watching. Wait, was it you or someone else? Okay, who's the guy again? Was his name Matt that everyone keeps calling like Clark
yeah,
Kent or
yeah,
whatever?
yeah.
Was it you where he just like left the room? Or
Yes,
was it
and that
someone
is
else?
just
Stop. I
yeah.
was like in tears laughing watching that. I was like, did he really just leave?
Well, I'm a talker, so and I think production figured that out really quickly. So if you look closely, it is so well pieced together that is just not in the same. They didn't have it the same at
It's
the same
gold though.
time.
It's gold.
So yes, yeah, I was chatty Cathy in there, but Matt never walked out on me in my date. I know there's other people that have claimed that did actually happen. He didn't walk out on me. Matt was actually a very respectable person, and like um I'll use the word misunderstood. I just think he's
Yeah.
quiet and reserved, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I figured, especially because you could tell like all the guys like loved him so much when he would come back after the pods. And I was like, okay, there's no way like he actually like sucks if all the
Yeah.
guys like him that much and like want to be around him.
No, and since then, I mean, Jeremy and I have seen him a couple times. He'll call us and like FaceTime us. We went to Sycamore Brewing, and he's not a drinker, so he gets the Rail Trail beer there, and he's actually really cool once you get to know him. But yeah, he was
So
given a really interesting edit. So poor
I
guy.
know he was a character. It's funny because like to me he like didn't feel very much in the show, like only at the beginning,
Yeah,
but he's
yeah.
like remembered so well from the show. Like he stands out.
He does. And I'm so glad that he did not shy away completely from social media. He'll still post occasionally and stuff. And I'm like, if you talk to Matt, he's like, none of this got to me as far as like what was being said, except for his job. Like his job is so important to him.
I
And
could see that. Yeah.
yeah,
That's
and
tough.
yeah, he works with people. And so I think the worst part of that wasn't even the walking out, but people saying he was like a serial killer. I'm like, that's wild. Like, that
Yeah.
is such
Okay,
a
reel
stretch.
it in.
Yeah. Can confirm he is not a sociopath or a serial killer. Promise. So,
Oh my
yeah, great.
God. So, okay, so then back to you and Jeremy, you guys kind of start really connecting. And then was it weird, like when you have her name's Laura, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, Laura like is also connecting with him. Did it like the tension start to get weird then forever? Okay, and you guys weren't the only people in like a triangle per se. Like there was Chelsea with Trevor and Jimmy and Jessica. Like there were all these like triangles
Yeah,
happening. Did the tensions just kind of like start getting worse and worse like throughout, or
really
like
do.
tensions building because you're like, shoot, what if it's not me? What if it's her? Like because that
Yeah.
definitely like if Love Island, like you can feel the villa like a night of a recoupling when people have to choose.
Mhm.
And like it's like you could cut ice, like
Like
it's
cut the
crazy.
tension with a
Yeah.
knife.
Yeah.
Um, Great question. So I don't want to say that it did. Let me start by saying yes, you could start to feel some tension and some secrecy happening. Like cliques were forming. Um,
Mhm.
and I I have always been a woman who I don't really get involved in that. I really truly mean this when I say that I just worry about myself especially in a situation like that. And people will say, well, that's selfish. And I'm like, well, how? Because I went to this show to find love for myself. And so yeah, I could put two and two together that Jeremy was dating other people, but I would be silly to not think that because I was also dating other people and Laura was also dating other people. Where I felt a little blindsided was within those cliques. I kind of felt like these people aren't talking to me as much and I don't really know why. And I could never put my finger on it. Well, I know why now. Now seeing the footage of looking back and Laura making snide remarks and with AD and Jess and whomever. Um, Now I know, but I didn't really know at the time. I was actually really close to Brittany and Chelsea. And they were kind of friends with everybody. We all were kind of still friends with each other, but it was just awkward. It was starting to be really awkward. But I I guess I use the word realist and people hate that, but I am truly just living in a moment there where I'm like, I have to be real with myself. I know these women are dating a guy that I like or want to be with and I'm falling in love with, but at the same time, if he decides that I'm not the person for him, then that's it.
Right.
And then someone will say to me, "Well, you sent the message." Yeah. Well, why wouldn't I? I felt a certain way. I didn't say
Mhm.
what I needed to say, and so I felt in my heart it was the right thing to do. And I still feel that
Before
way.
we Yeah, before we get there, I do
Yeah.
wanna say, like, your claim about, like, "I'm there for me," like, this is
Yeah.
it's what you hear from a lot of girls that go on The Bachelor,
Yeah.
but let's take, like, Maria from this past season as an example
Hmm.
of someone that was like, "I'm here for me, like, I'm putting me first," and you could tell, like, she didn't really, like, click as much with the girls, and it's pretty interesting to see how she,
Yeah.
though, has had, like, an insane like fandom of following a girl's being like, she's just
Yeah.
doing her. Like she's just that's just her. That's just who she is. But then like you, like I see online, like you get a lot of like I feel like you get a lot more hate and like you got like
Yeah.
roasted at the reunion versus like Maria was horrified. Those hosts, they came for you guys. I've never seen hosts roast like that ever. I was like
Y'all had
pretty
a bad
signed
night
off
last
on
night,
that.
didn't you?
I was like, wow, Netflix really said, have at it, guys. Like, eat them alive. Like,
Yeah.
Trevor, too. Like, I was like, I started feeling bad. I wanted to be like, do you know how many people I know that have gone on reality TV and we're talking to someone up until they go to the airport? Like, My
Yeah.
guy from the show bought the girl souvenirs as a gift to bring home to her too. But then
Yeah.
he's like, "Oh, well, it goes to you now. Like I met someone now." Like things change because you go into the show thinking like, "I'm not gonna find anyone. Like I'll call
Yeah.
you when I get back." And I
Yeah.
see how that's really unfair and it takes up spots from people that like don't have that already. But
Mhm.
so many people do it, and then they do find people that it's like
Yep.
you don't really know that like a lot of people do that. Like I could name like half the Love Island cast that like left for the show. And I guess that show's not as serious as obviously Love is Blind because you guys have marriage at the end versus
Yeah.
Love Island just dating. So I get that too, but I was like shocked at kind of like comparing the differences in
Yeah.
like audience reaction post show for
Yeah.
severity and not only like viewing like quote unquote like villain and how much like hate you want to give or love you want to give to that person or oh they're just doing me or no I want to like
Yeah.
like send hate. It's an interesting way to look at it.
It's very interesting. And I'll just say, I don't want to speak for anyone, but I think it's pretty obvious that people and the way that they find love and the way that they love in general, love languages, those are all real things. And you know, I don't think anybody's at fault for doing. It's not selfish in the pursuit of love it whenever you really feel something in your heart, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think whenever you see that fan base that Maria is getting, and it's like, well, she's doing her, what is wrong with that? I guess we live in a world where all these these new terms have like gaslighting and just all these
Mhm.
different things, and I'm like, but let's strip away what the reality of what you're really trying to say is like, I felt lied to, I felt this, like, I saw a therapist talking about that as like, just say what you're trying to say. And I think the way that people felt about me is that I infiltrated a, like, sacred bond, like a marriage. But the reality of it is you know how you were like, well, Love Island isn't quite as serious. To the public it may seem that way, but if you find somebody that you fall in love with on Love Island, it's no different than Love is Blind. Yes, there's a
Sure.
marriage that can be had at the end of Love is Blind that they will fully pay for, and they'll give you the ring and put you on the altar. That's part of the entertainment aspect of it. And I'm not discounting that. Marriage is something that I want to do, and I think, but it's 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 about love. It's about love
Yeah.
at the end of the day. You
It
know,
is true. I mean, love is in both the titles.
it's in both the titles. And who's to say that you don't go on Love Island, find someone there in the most unique, interesting way, and possibly hurt someone else while you've all signed up for this experiment, and you meet the love of your life, and then you go away from the show and get married and have 3 kids in a house with a white picket fence. I mean, it's about love. It's, and Love is Blind is called Love is Blind, not, love to get married. It's there. It's
True.
just part of the show. So, um, also too, I just want to clarify something. I see a lot of comments that are saying that Sarah jumped into an almost married man, his relationship, and Jeremy wasn't almost married. Jeremy broke up with me 2 days maybe before engagements were supposed to happen on Love is Blind. So I left the show. He was there for 2 more days with Laura. They then immediately send them to the Dominican Republic or whatever tropical location for the honeymoon, which I think is approximately like 4 or 5 days. And then he came back to Charlotte, and I sent a message. He was engaged to Laura for about a week and a half. Like, you know, people think they come back and they're living here for a month together, and that because of the homes that they put them in, and that's not the timeline. That's not real.
Yeah.
So um
I
dang,
always say it's kind of like dog years with reality TV stuff. But I think
that's quick.
the part where people, like from what I saw, like were upset where their point was like it didn't matter like what the time was or
Yeah,
whatever. It was just kind of like he like what they said to you is that they were like, okay, he made his decision, so like you
yeah,
can't look back on it. Or
yeah.
like, oh, he made his decision, like and like he didn't pick you, he picked Laura, like drop it.
Well, it
and
did
like
pick
move
me.
on. But
Sorry, that had to be a little snarky. Yeah, no, I mean, it's fair, right? People are going to look at it that way, but um given that the situation, and you can probably relate, it is a high pressure situation. You are you become very you rely on your instincts, I think, very
yeah,
quickly in a situation
yeah,
like that. Sometimes you rely on what you've always known, and the whole goal is to go and for Love is Blind and to meet someone that you could potentially marry, right? And so if you're on this show, you're single, other relationships haven't worked out for a reason. I think it's clear that mistakes are made in
mhm,
decisions, and if if we punished every single person for changing their mind in love, in life, then we wouldn't be here. I mean, the whole everybody in life is just trying to figure it out. We're all just trying to do the best we can, um, with what we know. And I don't feel like a second choice. Everybody keeps saying side salad Sarah, which it's funny.
that's so bad.
Like what
Jeez.
side salad? Like, let's be so for real. Like
Yeah,
that's
like,
part of
no.
the grill.
I think, like, once things, like, calm down a bit, like, that stuff will stop, but that's what
Yeah.
I'm, like, trying to put myself in your shoes and, like, think, like, "Okay, if I were you and this had happened to me and I'm, like, so in love with someone, but
Yeah.
they decide to leave with this other person and pursue them, and they go to the Dominican Republic, and I'm like, shoot,
Yeah.
like, you wish you had waited to see maybe, like, if they were gonna, like, not work out
Out.
post that to send the message, or, like, no, were you like, "I just need to get it off my chest of how I'm feeling and leave it at that?"
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the difference would have been. Maybe he would have, from what I've been told, is that well before I sent the message, that Jeremy knew that he was not going to marry Laura.
Oh,
And
so you already knew before sending that message that they weren't gonna work out?
no, I didn't know that, but I've dated Jeremy for a year. So he
Okay.
since told me, like, hey, I knew before you sent
Oh,
that
he
message
knew. Got
that I
it.
wasn't marrying her. And he's like, and he's told me, he's like, I've had conversations with Laura as well, and we just knew it wasn't really working out well before the message was sent. And no, I don't. I wouldn't have changed that. I still wouldn't, because at the end of the day, that regardless, you know what, somebody could be in a relationship for a year and engaged for months on end, and some person send a message, not that it's right, but it's up to that person in the relationship to say no thank you. And again, we're looking at something from a reality show, where the love was very very real. It's
Mhm.
just that, given the situation, in my mind, I thought, why would I wait for this, for him to go to the altar to say what I need to say? I did not expect Jeremy to be like, oh, well, you know, let's have a conversation. I fully expected him to be like, hey, I really appreciate the message. I made my choice. Have a good life.
Yeah.
That's
And
just
you're
not what
like,
happened.
I said my
Yeah.
piece. I'm like, "Alexa, play Speak Now by Taylor Swift."
Yeah. But yeah,
Oh.
so I like, you have to speak up. Something that I think that it is solid to point out is people really, really should stand up for themselves and say what they need to say. Um, I live by that. It brings a lot of joy to my life doing that. And people say, well, none of these people are your friends. They're not people I would want to be friends with anyway, then. Do you know what I mean? Like, if there's no understanding of my feelings either in that situation of being heartbroken and wanting to say to someone that I had strong feelings about, like, to say something to them, I felt it was more respectable to do it before him going to the altar and then waiting until after and being like, let me slide in, like, that just
Yeah.
seems easier to me. Like, let me just say it up front and personal, and say it before that it actually happens, because you know I may never get the opportunity again. Say he did say yes at the altar, you know when would I have been able to be like, well, damn, I didn't say what I needed to say, so I just go live my whole life being like, shoulda, coulda, woulda? screw
Mhm.
that. No, I will not live my life like that with question marks. And if people want to do that, that's their prerogative. And
Mhm.
Maria, she's a real one for just being her damn self. And this is me. This is who I am. I am going to live my life and in bring myself happiness. If you don't
Yeah.
bring yourself happiness, nobody else will. Period.
Yeah, it has to, like, start here. It has to, like,
Yes.
start within, and then you can go from there, because then it's like you can't really make someone else happy, or, like, you can't really be
Yeah,
like, truly believe, like, you cannot be in a relationship with someone until you, like, know yourself well enough,
I
because
agree.
then it's, like, not gonna work. But, like,
Yeah.
speaking of relationship, you and Jeremy are still together.
Jeremy and I are still together.
Oh
We're
my
in the same house
gosh.
right now. He's downstairs.
Wow. That is amazing. I feel like it just shows too how real everything was that, like, that you were feeling when you wanted
Yeah.
to reach out, and that, like, it really was something where you're like, "I'm not gonna be able to breathe unless I just send this because it is how I feel, and I just, like, have to
Yeah.
know." And it just makes me think too of every girl that is, like, gets drunk and you're telling them, like, "Don't text your ex-boyfriend," or, like, "Don't"
Yes.
and you're like, "I just have to." Like, you just feel better once you do it. Or, like, a post-breakup text, you're just like, "I just need to get it out." Even if you don't get a reply, you're just like, "I have to lay it out there, tell this person, like, you
Yes.
fucking suck," and then that's it, and I, like, don't need a response.
Do you
But I
know
just
I and not to interrupt you, but it's
You're
funny you
good.
say that. It just resonated with me. I've gone out since being on the show in Charlotte. There are a lot of supporters. They come up to me, they talk to me. I had a girl one night literally almost cry, and she was like, I want to let you know that you gave me so much inspiration. And I was just flabbergasted. I'm like, girl, how? Like, and I didn't realize the impact that, even just being a strong individual and standing up for what you want in life actually does help people. She told me that she had feelings for someone for a very long time. This man went and dated someone that she was acquaintances with, and she spent a year of her life knowing that she should say something because she really felt strongly. And she finally did one night, and it caused an issue with the other person. But fast forward a year later, they've been together, they're happy. She's so glad she sent the message, and realizes that that's what she should have done all along, and that she was wasting time. And so it really, really helped me. Like, people coming up and saying to me, like, I get cameo requests
Mhm.
constantly, and they're all inspirational. They're all these, like, I've had people that are fighting cancer reach out and want me to to give them a pep talk, and I have broke down crying, like, why am I the person, I'm not even worthy to do this, in my mind. But it really makes me feel confident in making the choices I did, even more so. You would think with time that, people expect me to be remorseful and in time be like, yeah, I really messed up, or dang, I missed out on all these friendships and opportunities. But I regret nothing. I regret nothing because I have felt the impact, and people have spoke to me about what it's done for them to be someone that stands up for themselves. There's a lot of people that don't. It's really sad. I wish more
Yeah,
people could, you know what I mean? And if I can be a light for
totally.
someone, then
And I think that's really important, and that's
yeah,
amazing that, there's, like, so much light that has come out of this, like, besides just, like, being happy with Jeremy now,
yeah,
like you said, there's, like, people that can look up to you for being someone that, like, speaks what they wanna say and stands by, their actions and what they did, and, like, or what they want, and goes after the things they want, and you can't be,
yeah,
like, holding back because of that. And I think it is cool to see a lot of people that have that kind of mentality, and
yeah,
it's what has impressed me from watching you is, like, I feel like you're not afraid of, like, the media or the show. Like, at the reunion, like, you definitely didn't look it, but, like, you didn't give me, like, I'm afraid of, like, getting roasted by people or the host. Like, you were just like, "This is what this is," and, like,
yeah.
me, like, I would've been, like, I would've fainted.
I was trembling inside. I was, I get, they put little mirrors in the pods because they had to sit in the pods and wait for me specifically to be brought out on stage, and they
Mhm.
had like a little mirror, and I was already mic'd up, and I know, I know the eyes in the sky I could hear. And I was like, you got this. You go out there, you be yourself. You don't let anybody tell you anything. And like, and that was it. Like, I could have peed my pants, you know. But I think it comes from knowing that I do have such empathy for people. I really do. And I do
Mhm.
have such a big heart. In fact, being told I don't care about other people is wild to me. If you know me in my normal life, I am a people pleaser. I am working on not doing things to please other people. And so many times in my life, I've done that and I always regret it. And the one time that I stood up for myself on television is where it happened. And you know what? I got heat for it, but it felt good. It
I
felt
was gonna say it
good.
probably felt really good to just
I
stand
was
your
like,
ground and
you know
yeah.
what? You people, and there was somebody asked me, they said, well, it was the quietest you had been. And I said, it surely was. And I said, you know, I reacted whenever someone was speaking poorly about the person that I loved. Like, that's one
Yeah.
thing I won't tolerate in my
Yeah.
real life, you know, like I'm not going to go somewhere
Mhm.
and someone speak poorly of someone that I love. I will lash out at you and be like, you know, stay in your lane. Um, that's just how I am. And, but I mean, you know, I think, I think at the end of the day, like I knew sitting in that moment, nothing I say will be good enough for you people. And so
Mhm.
you're not getting anything from me.
Yeah.
That's it. I'll sit here and take whatever you need to say, whatever. I think you saw too, there was an apology that wasn't aired.
Oh,
Um,
I didn't know that.
there was an apology that, which of course I knew the whole time the show was airing, that I, you know, had a conversation with Laura at the lake. And then they decided to save that for the reunion and show that
Mhm.
there. The public reacted to that. It actually didn't go, it didn't go, I think, the way that they had anticipated it to go.
Mhm.
A lot of people were like, that's funny. All this time we're thinking that, you know, Sarah never apologized when in fact I did. I did at the lake apologize. Laura didn't accept the apology. She thought it was a way for me to try to get information about my newfound relationship. But I was like, girl, like if you can't accept the apology, then I don't have any apology left. I can't say sorry until I'm blue in the face. I mean, you know, you get a sincere apology, you get a double down, I'm sorry again, and at the third time's a charm, and then I'm done. You know,
Mhm.
people I think still expect me to apologize. There's nothing to apologize for anymore. I am so happy in my life. I love where I'm at. Um, I'm excited for my future and I appreciate you saying that, like watching me like handle all this, like that actually makes me feel so good because, you know, I have my bad days. I have days where I'm,
Everyone does.
yeah,
Everybody does. Even the people that, like, get so much praise, like, they'll still get bad comments here and there. Like, there is no 100% good, and, like, that will get to you too. Like, then sometimes you're just fixated on, like, the one bad comment, and I know
yeah,
it's, like, a weird way to look at it, but, because obviously getting a shit ton of hate comments is gonna be a lot
yeah,
tougher, but then, like, you hyperfixate on, like, the one or whatever. Like, I've seen hate for, like, all kinds of random stuff, like, between the podcast hate, the show, I didn't get a ton of hate myself, but I saw it with a lot of my peers and like
yeah.
friends that were on the show with me. It's crazy the amount of hate that some people get. Um, I did want to ask too, what really went down the night that like everyone's talking about, where you guys were like sitting in the car or back at your apartment? Like, what
Oh,
is
yeah,
like,
yeah.
real, like, what is the truth of like what happened that night?
Yeah, the real story. So I came back to Charlotte, as you know, and Jeremy and Laura had just gotten back. I had already sent that message. And I was actually out with Vince. I was out with Ben, which you see Ben shortly, and Vince shortly on season 6. Sunny, who I had gone to Hawaii with, and a friend of mine, and we were all out. We were just having cocktails at a local bar called Vinyl in Charlotte. And from there, we were beat bopping around. We ended up at a place called Lost and Found. Oh, and Dion. Dion is another guy from the cast that was there as well. Dion walks over to me. He's like, hey, Jeremy's on his way here. At that point, you know, I'm like, I really don't want to see this person because I'm upset. I haven't gotten to talk to him, whatever. And I even said, I said, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and leave. Dion's like, hey, don't let anybody influence your choice on whether or not you want to be out. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And being the person I am, I stayed because I was like, you're right. Nobody's going to tell me. So I stayed. It was a completely unplanned meeting. You know, the guys invited him out. He ended up showing up. naturally, we're in each other's vicinity. He knows everybody from the cast, and we had a connection. So I
Right.
decided to take it upon myself to walk over to him and say, how's it going? Like, we
Mhm.
obviously have some sort of unfinished business here. The conversation was really a lot of me kind of being not so nice to him. I was frustrated. I was like, hey, like I did feel as if you blindsided me. I went into an interview an hour after our date and told them that you were the person I was going to marry. And I was for sure it was me. And I felt so foolish. And so a lot of the conversation was about that. And then, mind you, and this is in front of all the other people that were on the show as well. The
Yeah.
bars closed about 2:00, 2:15 here in Charlotte. And we were continuing to talk, and everybody else was like, hey, we're going to head out. And I was like, well, I've got to get going. Jeremy's like, well, why don't you come over here? We'll finish our conversation and then I'll drop you off. And I was like, okay, cool. Um, and so Jeremy and I, we finished talking about, the show, how he was feeling, how I was feeling, how crazy it was that we even signed up for this, like we were in
Right.
LA and being
This was and
filmed.
this was in the car at the parking lot.
Yeah, we were just sitting there, we were just talking, and I told him, I was like, I was like, hey, it's getting late. I was like, I really need to go home. And he was like, okay. He took me home, dropped me off, and that was it. And in fact, I didn't even hear from him like the day after. Like it was never a, hey, like let's continue talking. Let's be together. Nothing of that, like again, people don't know me. They only know what they see on the show, but everybody that knows me in Charlotte, I mean, I'm not that girl. I know it seems wild to say that, like he didn't come in, but he did not come in. He would never be allowed to come in, and no man would be allowed to come in if I knew, especially because I was just pissed. Like I was just mad. I was
Yeah.
like in my mind, that night I'm like,
Right.
you messed up. You should pick me. But like I didn't say that out loud. Like I just
Yeah.
was feeling that, So I didn't hear from him. I didn't hear from him after that night for days.
What did you think when you watched the episode back and he was saying to Laura, like, oh, but you had my location?
Oh my God, we literally share each other's location. And it's so funny because people are trying to be like, you left your watch, you're dumb. And I'm like, y'all, he shared his location to be us like a loyal dude, to be like, hey, this is where I was. And he said it on the reunion. He was like, I wasn't trying to hide anything. And Jeremy's not an idiot. Let me tell you, if he was going to hide something, I'm sure he would do a lot better job than that. Like he wasn't trying to hide anything. There was nothing to hide. He actually thought in his mind, like, I'm going to go back, let her know I had a conversation with Sarah. And him and I, that's another thing. We're a lot alike in that mindset where I sent the message and I'm like, nah, Laura will see this and be like, whatever, she got it off her chest. Let's move on. I've got the guy. That's the way I would process that. That's the way I would think about that. So it was stupid for me to assume, or silly of me to assume, that she would react the same way. But that's how I would view that situation. And for him, like in his mind, he's like, oh, I'm going to go back. I'm going to tell her, like, I squashed it with Sarah. Like, we had a conversation. I know it was late, but you had my location. You can tell I just dropped her off, whatever, blah, blah, blah. In his mind, he thought it was going to go over way different. Obviously, it didn't go that way.
If it did, like, was he going to stay with her or like, no?
So from what I've been told, since is no, he was not going to marry Laura. I think there was some confusion on his end on what he needed to do, because there was some production stuff that was being said to him. Obviously we know that this is a show, it's filmed, and there's they want things a certain way so that they can create the story. So I can't say too much about that. I know more.
Our viewers understand that, though.
Yeah, I know more about that, of what was kind of being said and done and told. But no, I can confirm that Jeremy was well aware in the Dominican that he was not going to be marrying and moving forward with Laura. There's a clip actually in season 6, and I think people forget it, where Jeremy like says something to Amy in the DR, like, I want to meet Sarah and I think that like that's overlooked a little bit. Yeah, it aired. It's on TV, and it's just interesting. People pick out like what they want.
Do you say to him like, I can't believe like this has all happened this way, like you're an idiot?
Like, yeah, oh my God, yes, of course. I mean, like, you know, I joke with him now and I'm like, you know, this could have all been avoided. You made the right decision to begin with.
Oh my god.
Um, but, you know,
Do you think
I
you guys would
don't
be
know.
married right now?
Do I think we would be married right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe. I think
Yeah,
that
there's probably a chance.
he says that he is so happy that we did not
Yeah,
get engaged because he feels that it was so
that kind of pressure is a lot.
yeah, and he said that he recalls that even with like Laura and how I mean they literally send you to the DR. You've never seen this. You see them one time, you're taken back to your hotel room. You're not even on the same plane with them because the show hasn't aired, so they've got to keep you and your fiance separate. They send you off to the DR and they pop you in a room together. You've seen this person one time. And so I mean imagine just like having to go number two and like there's some random strange
No.
person that you're supposed to that you were telling 2 days ago that you love and having all these intimate conversations. I mean, it's just really a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah,
So
that is it's very 0 to 100.
I mean, I
And I
probably
think that's
would
what
have
makes it so
avoided.
fun to watch, but
I
I think
probably
it's
would have
so
said
I think that's
yes.
like so crazy about the show for like viewers is you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
Yeah.
okay, I'd be like down in the lobby hiding.
Oh my god, dude, I would be like,
I'd be
y'all
like,
have a separate bathroom for me to go to. Like,
yeah,
I'm a psycho too. Like, I have to like put my makeup on in peace. And if there's ever a time where like he's in the room, I'm like, you need to leave. You've got to go. I don't need you in here breathing in my space. Like, I just need time. So I would have had probably a panic attack. I'm not gonna lie.
oh god.
Yeah.
I don't know how I would do with that because like that phase for us with Love Island, like you're all coupled
Yeah.
up and then you like leave the show and you're like on this high, you know, everything's happening. You spend a
Yeah.
couple days in Fiji, but like it's not on camera. Part of me wishes that it was because I think people would see a lot more that they miss, obviously, once you kind of like leave on those highs. Like take
Yeah.
the whole second half of Love is Blind, like watching everything unfold is like really telling for a lot of people. And I'm like, shit, too bad they don't have that for Love Island because I feel like there's so much people like miss then. But that's
Yeah.
just not how the show works.
You're right. Watching it unfold in real time. I think a lot of people would assume that we would get to see the show, and you guys probably didn't either.
Ours is real time. It's like delayed 24 hours.
Yeah, I meant like when it airs, like we see it when everyone else sees it.
Ours airs the day after it happens. Yes. So it's live. So like when your mom's like watching you like maybe get broken up with like on her couch at home, like it happened that last night. So she's like either about to get a text from you like, hey, I'm on my way home, or like you're still there. But
That's
like right
insane.
after you watch.
That's
Yes.
that would make me have that
You don't know then when you come back what any of the reactions are. And they
yeah.
have the full cast already there waiting. So they also like don't know the audience's perception or aren't supposed to of like what's happening. Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
crazy.
gosh. Yeah, I feel for you. I would actually, at least I had almost a year to process that, you know, that things might not go over the way that I want them to
Right, that
go
is
over.
so weird that all this happened like technically like so long ago or like a year
Yeah.
ago, but then it's like, oh, you relive it all when it comes out again. So you guys probably had like a really good patch while things weren't being aired, and then it like probably all gets like brought up all over again. Like you relive it twice.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course we were being told the whole time like to just be careful, like don't talk
Yeah.
about it and
Right, because you don't want to like spoil things for people. I do want to ask, just because like I noticed obviously when I reached out for like the both of you guys to do the interview, and then I was gonna like message Jeremy and be like, come on too. Like you were telling
yeah.
me right before we started this, like he deleted his social media. Is it
Yeah.
because like, the hate is just too much and it's like overwhelming, or what was like how is he doing?
Yeah. So obviously like so Jeremy and I we don't speak for each other ever, especially
Yeah,
you know, not
yeah,
publicly.
fair, fair.
And you know, just out of respect for him, like I don't want to speak too much on it. He removed himself for, you know, a lot of personal reasons. I think, you know, him and I have had conversations and I will tell you from my perspective, the hate has put me in a funk a few times.
Mhm.
There's only so much, you know, so many messages that are telling you that you would be better off dead that you can stomach before you realize hey, maybe this isn't for me. I think, you know, again, I don't want to speak for him, but I will say that I think that we have both struggled through some of this because we could like again, we could have never predicted what would be shown or that
Right,
would in turn be the villains.
right.
So yeah, I mean he's okay. He's good. I think I would again don't want to speak for him, but I think he's
Right.
excited and happy and excited for the future. So
Sounds like you guys have a lot of good things like coming up and moving
yeah,
forward. Like
yeah.
there's so much to look forward to, you know, obviously being in like still a fairly new relationship and being in love and finding someone off a show. Like I'm sure everyone close to you, obviously like friends and family are like so excited to celebrate what a crazy
Yeah,
experience that is. So it's like at least you have all of that, you know, which is more important anyways. But obviously
absolutely.
like the media can be so crazy and too much and a lot. And, you know, we see it across all of our shows. I think one thing I was wondering too was does Netflix do any kind of like support for people going through hate post shows? Because like I know
Um,
CBS did for us, like they offered like free therapy for life,
yeah,
or they had like a counselor that was like on set with us. Like, did they
yeah.
have that at the reunion and stuff, or like how does that work?
Not on set or at the reunion. They do offer like 8 free sessions of therapy with whichever therapist of your choice that you decide to use.
Mhm.
And there are people that you can reach out to. But yeah, I mean, after that, I don't know of anything. Just those sessions that are offered. But I think for myself, it's really therapy is something that I want to do on my own as well. And
Mhm.
so I try really hard. I've talked about the show a little bit, but I try really hard to think about more so the way the reactions and the way that people reacted to me and things that were said. And I mean, there's like a clip where you can see me just tell everyone to go fuck themselves. I mean, just to be frank. And and like I look at that moment and that is part of who I am. And it wasn't my proudest moment, but I've unpacked that and I realized that that was a fight or flight situation for me. Like
Mhm.
I said that because my emotions, took over and I felt like a dog backed into a corner. Like it was just such a emotional reaction, and I've unpacked that as to why maybe I would react like that. Or as there been times in my life where that's happened before. I was bullied in high school by a group of girls, and I think that some of those repressed emotions happen. And as an adult, you feel as if you have more control, right? But then you learn quickly that in a situation like that, like you still don't. You only have control of yourself. So, yeah, they don't, I mean, they do the best they can. I think that's something new that they started offering. I think they realized that, there's a little bit of trauma that can
Mhm.
come with
Yeah.
it, to say the
No,
least.
definitely. I mean, like Love Island UK has seen it, you know, on like a very dark side. So they are like obviously very careful with the
Yeah.
post show hate and trying to manage it and all of that. So I think like that's why like the US version kind of took like notes from there of like, let's kind of like make sure we are checking in with people that were on the show and whatnot. I wouldn't say it's like amazing, but even like I was on the show and maybe like 2 years after I went through like a really rough patch, I just like felt like whatever. I reached out and I was like, "Hey, can I bill CBS for my therapy?" And they were like, "Yeah, send it over." And
I love
I
that.
think that was like great. And then even for a while, like people would check in stuff and be like, "How you doing?" Blah blah blah. And I just like
Yeah.
feel like it's nice because yes, you obviously sign up to go on these shows, but I don't think anyone really knows what they're signing up for. You
That's
don't
like
like
my
get
favorite
it.
comment is people are like, "Well, you know what you signed up for." I'm like, no, no, I didn't. I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Like, yes, I signed up, I get that, but, like, I don't think people, like, truly know, like, what they're in for because it's so, like, foreign to you, it's not something we've ever done, and it's, like, it's still such a cool experience and something to be so excited and, like, proud of that you did, but there's definitely, like, a lot of people that would say, like, they regret doing it. Like, does Jeremy wish, like, in another world, like, has he told you, "I wish that I met you not through the show and just, like, outside so he wouldn't have to, like, deal with all of this?"
Yeah, I mean, of course, I think that, again, not to speak for him, but there is an aspect to it is when you find something and you go on the show for the right reasons,
Mhm.
you wish you could have that person, but not without the added drama,
Right,
you know.
without the show.
So yeah, I think I
Yeah,
would
makes sense.
say that.
But on, like, a positive note, like, tell me some things that are, like, next for you guys. Like, do you have any fun trips for this summer? Like, anything going
Um,
on in North Carolina?
yeah, well, it's like 90 degrees in North Carolina most
Oh,
days,
I'm
right?
jealous.
Not quite
Wow.
90 every day, but like 85 to 90.
Wow.
So Lake
Beautiful.
Days coming up.
Oh,
That's
fun.
one thing. My cousin is getting married Memorial Day weekend. And then to be quite honest with you, I think one of the biggest things is just taking time to really like enjoy
Press.
a year without anything. I mean, I'm sure there will be. I have a meet and greet next week. I'm a big
Fun.
country music girl. So yeah, but I also think there's another event I was invited to, pretty big one in New York. So I just think that there's going to be some opportunities that are coming up. I have another podcast in person tonight. Opportunities have presented themselves after this experience. It's been stuff that I could never even imagine doing,
Yeah.
but
It's cool the doors that open. It's incredible. Like, although like sometimes I die inside when I'm talking to people and they're like, "You were on a reality show?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "What one?" I'm like, "Love Island." But I'm like, I
yeah,
can't like really be that because I like it's offered so many opportunities to me and like the things that I've been able to do and the people I've
yes.
gotten to meet and like the friends I've made. It's just like incredible.
It's really nice talking to someone also that has experience being in the spotlight, because sometimes I'll just get like notifications from different things and it'll be someone
Yeah.
posting anything. It could be something I'm wearing and I'm just like, what in the world is happening right
It's
now?
wild.
I'm doing dishes in my like kitchen and somebody's talking about like the lipstick color I have on. It's just insane. So, but it's really nice to talk to someone that can relate, because I feel normal. I feel like a normal person, and
Mhm.
I just happen to be a person who a lot of people know a little bit about. We'll go with a little bit about. They don't know that much. I'm excited for the future, though. I will say that with confidence.
I
Very
think
excited.
good things are coming. And I think too, like you guys just keep your heads up and you really lean on each other and love
Yeah.
on each other. And at least you both like really know each other's situations so well and you can relate in a sense of like you're going through basically the same thing,
Yep.
that you guys have each other for that. Like I think it would be a lot harder if one of you was like the angel of the season, the fan favorite, whatever, and then one of you was like
The
the
villain.
devil and everyone like hated them. It would just be like you don't get it. But I
Yep.
feel like because you guys are on the same page, like of both receiving, like everything that went down, that it's like probably nice to have each other.
Yeah, it is. I really sometimes, I think, there are sometimes I wish that I was able to talk to some of the women and just, hear about their
Yeah.
experience.
What about women on other seasons?
Yeah. Who did I reach out to? I was talking to her probably a month ago and she had
Yeah.
received a lot of hate. And it was one of those things where she's like, I always ask people afterwards. And a lot of the advice that I get is really just post and ghost and be done. If you still want to be, if you still want to be in
Yeah.
the social media realm, because at the end of the day, like you could be, I don't know, cure cancer or
And people are still gonna ask, but
there's,
why didn't you send the
yeah,
DM?
or they're
You'll
still going to
probably
be
see
like,
that.
yeah,
Unfortunately, you will probably see that like 10 years from now, even. People are gonna like message you that. Like that's like always gonna be a thing. But like what you're gonna have to do is just learn to like ignore that and know it's like people that don't actually know you. They just saw you on a screen and like
you
they don't
just
personally know you. And like I think that will come with time. Like I don't think that's something you can just say like, okay, then I'll just think like that and it'll just move on like that. It'll be like a whole process, but I'm sure you'll like learn things about yourself that you never thought you would learn. And
have.
I'm sure you already have. Yeah, exactly. That like
Yeah.
there is so much like silver lining, I think, to like all parts of it. And I'm total side note, some of the like most successful people to come off The Bachelor, Bachelorette have been the villains. So it's kind of like I think you just gotta like own it and move forward and live your life and like really not read into the bad comments. Like you gotta just like delete it and be like, you're behind a screen. Oh, I would say the best advice that I got from someone at CBS and other Love Island people say it too is don't feed back to the hate that you see online. And
Oh
I
my
think this goes
gosh.
for like girls getting bullied in high school or college or wherever. Like, don't feed into it because you just fuel it. You got to just ignore it and like go and do something that's going to make you better, not try to feed back to them or like let that bring you down, because then
Yeah.
you like stoop to that level the minute you start like fighting back with it.
Yeah, I've had a few moments of weakness.
Oh, I did too at first, and then like my family and friends were like, delete it now. Really hard not to, but it's like you just can't give them your energy.
There was one incident where I had to be involved and get involved. I had someone that was, to Jeremy and myself, they're repetitively in our DMs telling us that if we were hit by a car, it would be the best news headline that they'd seen all week, and just
Jesus.
nasty,
So unacceptable.
unacceptable, evil things. And I decided to take matters into my own hands. I think people forget you can be found on the internet like really easily. Like
Oh yeah. I
easily.
I faked someone out once and was like, you better stop bullying me or I'm going to call your parents. And then the girl was like, she goes, I didn't even know who she was. She was like, you can't call my dad. He's the police
Yeah.
commissioner of New York. And I was like,
What? Does he know that you're
girl,
online bullying people?
I was like, girl, your
Strangers?
dad would kill you.
Yes,
like,
I called somebody's place of work and I told him, I was
yeah,
like, do you want to play that game? Because I was like, you are literally someone that cares for people. And I was like, I listed off everything. I was like, I know exactly who you are. And it was this major apology. And I was like, yeah,
wow.
I just pulled a Karen. I sure did.
Honestly, that's kind of a power move right there.
And they were like so apologetic. And they were like, you're so right. I need to get therapy.
A lot of that is projecting though. Like I used to say when I was getting bullied in college, like, cause I didn't really experience it in high school too bad, but college for some reason I had it. I don't know. We all get it at different points in life.
Yeah.
It was like I felt like that person was hurting, so they wanted me to hurt too. And I think the more I like kind of looked at it like that angle, I could really see that like they were just so unhappy that they like wanted me to be miserable too.
I want to be an advocate for anti-bullying in the
Should be.
full circle moment. And adults get bullied. I think that there is
Oh, they so do. It doesn't
I
stop.
mean, in their jobs, in life, and you could be bullied at the freaking grocery store, like for God's sakes. I mean, you know, I think that sometimes as adults we're told, yeah, like, you know, you just have to get over it. And it sucks because people are hurting. You know what I mean? Like you could be 30, 40, 50 years old and being bullied by your boss. I was bullied by my boss, you know. I had to quit my job because of it, because I couldn't get HR to do anything. And like, I know what that feels like firsthand from a personal real life level. And I know what it feels like on a very large scale.
Big level. It's a big scale now. Yeah.
I want to help people, you know, if I could change this and turn this around to do anything good, it would be that, you know, it would be to be a voice. I do appreciate your kind words, and you're right. It's just about keep going, right?
So. It'll get better, but that's wild. I'm like, people, if you're listening, don't do that shit.
Don't do that.
It's crazy. It's weird. And we don't condone bullying on this podcast. Never have, never will.
I can't wait to, because I was watching some of your stuff before and it looks like you've had like a lot. So you have had a lot of villains on the podcast, and I was like, this is great. This is great.
I mean, I'll go back and send you some of their episodes. You can hear kind of how they talk about like what they went through. You doing this episode, you've had like a year of time that's gone by. We get the people fresh off the show, so it's almost like not enough time to like let everything soak in of like what's happening. Does that make sense? Like, it's like if I talk to them like months later, they probably have a much like different opinion on things. It's almost like they're too fresh sometimes of like they haven't, like the hate's still kind of ahead of them. There's such a story to tell behind it though. Like there's so much that like isn't shown or that we didn't get to hear from you really, like especially the reunion. Like you said, you were just kind of like backed into a corner and that was it. Like we didn't really get to hear too much.
I know. They made sure to tell me that there's a reason that your stuff didn't, because I was like, I wish there had been more about Jeremy and I's connection, and they were like, well, you weren't picked, and I was like, I know. Thank you for the reminder. Like it's just, you know, like they just had to put that in there, and I'm just like, you know, again, the reunion was filmed I think in like into February. So that was the only thing that was current, and you would expect somebody to go in really like composed in a certain type of way, but when you haven't seen any of these people, like you're just like, I just felt like I was like, I'm ready for whatever.
Yeah, shit just hits the fan at those. And that's the whole point of them. Yeah. Everyone was saying like the reunion was better than like the show. Everyone was like, it's the craziest reunion.
Would you do it again? Like, would you do Love Island again?
Yeah, I mean, I had the most amazing edit you could possibly get on reality TV.
Really?
Yeah. So obviously I would do it again. But I also am saying I would do it again even if I like didn't, because I met so many cool people. I met one of my best friends on the show, Alex. She used to host this podcast with me. Maybe she'll come back. She's taking a break right now.
Yeah.
And I got like the adventure of a lifetime. Like we filmed in Fiji for a summer. It was so fun. It was just cool. It opened so many doors for me. It was so fun. And it brought my family really close together because they had watch parties every night with like all their friends in my family. Like even like seeing videos of my grandpa like chugging champagne at the finale was like the cutest thing ever. Like obviously I missed all of this because I was on the show, but it was so cool like watching all the like support and everyone come together. So I'm like, no, I would never trade that.
Yeah, I agree with that. My family has always been supportive. They were all like so angry because they're like, what? Like, that's not how that went. Cause they were in real time with me knowing, like, you know, like my best friend after the Lost and Found night, like I called her and I'm like, so here's
Yeah.
what happened. And so they all knew. And so
Right.
whenever it was played back, they were on the same page as me. They also know me. So they're like ready to go fight people on the internet. I had to tell my mom, I was like, you can't fight everyone on the internet.
Yeah. Oh no.
Sorry, it's just not going to happen. I want to as well, but it's just, you know, people that love you have your back.
Yeah.
They really do. So
Yeah, they totally do. For me, I had like when I had dated someone new at first that wasn't the person from the show, like the
okay.
guy and I from the show broke up, and then I dated someone new. People like freaked out at him and like bullied him on the internet really bad because they liked the guy from the show. And they like went as far as like messaging like family members and stuff. Did that happen with Love is Blind? Like they messaged like family members and that part to me is like so shitty and over the line. Like you can't message someone's like mom or their dad and like
It's
write mean
terrible.
things. Like, come on.
I mean, they were
Like,
saying that, like, obviously, like, your mom's this, that, and the third, and that's where you get it from. And my best friends were
oh,
like, fighting people in the comments. And I mean, my friend showed me like a week ago, somebody was like, I hope you get cheated on by your man because you're friends with Side Salad. And I was like, what the
oh
hell?
my God.
But it kind of made me laugh. I was like, what? That's wild.
Oh my God.
She was like, this is insane. Like my one friend, like she was like commenting and like fighting people in the comments a lot, and so she was getting a lot of hate. But like for a while, I wasn't posting any of my girlfriends because I told them, I was like, I don't want you guys to be exposed to what I'm exposed to. And of course, they're like, we don't care. And I'm like, you will though. People not on reality TV or in any type of limelight have zero idea. I mean, I've gotten hate on the internet with my couple thousand followers that I had right before the show, but like
it is nothing compared to
it's nothing compared to it. No, it's a different beast.
Do you ever get like nervous in public? Because like so I had like a co-host on the Love Island Games portion of the show, and he was kind of a villain from his season, and he said he was out at a bar and a girl threw a drink in his face. Like, have you guys experienced anything like that?
I haven't experienced like extreme hate that way. I've had majority is love. I've had 4 incidents that I can recall where people are pretty shitty. First, when it was still airing, I went out with one of my girlfriends, and there was a group of women at a restaurant here in Charlotte, and they were talking amongst themselves, but they were talking very loud, and we were a table over, and they were just like, there's that girl, that whore from Love is Blind, like, yeah, like that type of stuff. I had a girl at a brewery come up, and she was like, my friend wants to say hi because they really like you, but I really don't care for you because of the show. And I wasn't drinking. I was taking like a drinking hiatus, and I think they thought I was like drunk, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, you know, like I like went about it and walked away, and I was just like, I don't know if this person doesn't think I'll remember this. There was one other too at the outlet mall. I went to exchange my Converse. I was just doing normal life stuff, and I walked in, this girl was like, you're that girl. And I was like, are you talking about Love is Blind? And she was like, yeah. And I expected her to be like, oh my God, nice to meet you. It was no. I can't wait to tell my friends I met you. And I was like, oh, and like, so I literally looked at her because I had one of those moments, and I was like, oh, do your friends hate me? And she just stared at me, and I was like, don't care if they do. And I walked out.
Oh my God.
Because like, you get fed up. Like, you get so fed up. I'm like, if you have nothing to say, don't say anything at all, period. Like, most of the time I'm not reactive. I just kind of ignore it. But yeah, I get talked about often in public, and I very much am. I notice it, and I just pretend like la-di-da, like I'm so unbothered. Because the majority of the time I am. But it's, if I hear someone calling me out of my name, that's when I get a little annoyed, because I'm just like, you really have no business. But people are going to do what they're going to do, you know? And I can't control that. I can only control myself. But yeah, it sucks sometimes. I do get anxious going out. There have been people that have come up to Jeremy, and I will be standing there and say to him like, oh, are you still dating her? You know, I was gonna come hit on you, and like stuff like that. So like we've had trying times where people
people can be wild like that. Yeah,
people in his DMs like just sending the DM, and I'm just like,
oh my God. I'm like, all I can think of is like all these like quotes are like things you need to turn around and like make a bunch of like merch. So it's like funny. I'm like, you're gonna go on a bachelorette party one day if you and Jeremy, and all the shirts are gonna be like main course, like
I literally don't understand what people get from bullying other people because I've never done that. So I wouldn't know, but I'm just going to keep my head up high. I'm going to post a ghost. And I honestly, there is a little bit of fuel to my fire when people just hate what I have to say and they're like, stop talking. And I'm like, well, now I'm going to put out another video. So like, this is not helping your case if you want me to stop talking, because now I'm going to do it. But yeah.
I don't know if this celebrity has a podcast, but I'm like, you should try to get on like Julia Fox's podcast or like do some kind of like interview with her. Like, I feel like the Julia Fox, like Emrata mentality is kind of like the same of like what they believe in, of like, you got to just like do you and move forward and like not worry about what other people have to say.
If you were going to do right by every single person by not talking to, dating someone, you would have no friends, because everybody kind of knows everyone. There's people that you will find out that you've dated, that dated someone else that you could potentially even be friends with or really close to, and don't date, you just don't live. Like, that's so strange to me. So if they're not your person, then they're somebody else's person. If it's not your person, it's a good thing whenever you go through a breakup. Like, you don't want to be in something miserable, you know? So
you just want to be happy. We want everyone to be happy.
Yeah.
More love.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, if you have any suggestions on some other podcasts, that would be a good idea. Let me know.
Yeah, we'll let the viewers think too. If you guys have more people you can think of, like, write it down below. I'll link Sarah Ann's social medias, her Instagram or TikTok down below too, if you guys want to add her, or if you have any more questions, go for it. Just send them down below and we'll get back to you guys. But Sarah, thank you so much for coming on today. I felt like it was so fun. I feel like I was just like hanging out with friends, talking to them. I feel like a lot of people listening will probably feel like that too, which will be so nice for people to have. It's been such a fun episode, and I'm really happy I got to hear from you, and I'm so excited for you and Jeremy for everything that's ahead. And I feel like you guys are going to have a really fun summer, and I can't wait to see like on your social, like all your events coming up too, and be there to support.
Yeah, no, Elizabeth, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I feel the same too. This is like probably one of the most comfortable podcasts I've been on, just because it was like
so sweet. You said that,
which is great. I feel like I got to say exactly what I needed to say without like any kind of, so. But yeah, I really appreciate it. It's been awesome.
Aww, thank you. Okay, bye guys.